Hey guys, welcome back to SureFire Live. I'm gonna have to work on that intro because it's pretty a hard cut right to this. But thank you for joining us again. We are going to talk to two of my favorite people in the world. I got Tommy Nelms coming on first to talk about Sweet Boy Cancer, and then we got my good friend Alan Rush going to talk about sales. So it's going to be a great show. And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and bring Tommy Nelms up on the show. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Doing great, buddy. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just a quick background on Tommy and I. We're neighbors. We live really close to each other in Nashville, Tennessee, and he lives just south. I'm in Nolensville, and he's in College Grove. And we also have chimney companies that are, you could say competitors, but we're not competitors. We're friends, and we help each other. And Tommy, he had this idea of Sweet Boy Cancer, and I want him to talk about a charity that's really close to both of our hearts. And Tommy, tell the people about Sweet Boy Cancer, and then and we're going to talk about the big rally coming up. So tell everybody how this thing started.
Yeah. So, man, this is definitely a passion project for me, and really everybody that's involved. I think I said to somebody the other day that I don't know of anybody who has not been affected or has a loved one that's been affected by cancer.
Yeah.
So kind of a brief history. So I think it was at the convention in Columbus, Ohio. The keynote speaker was a lady, and she made a comment at the time that I wrote down that she said that in the service industry that 80% of the scheduled appointments are made by women.
Right.
So as I'm flying back home, I'm thinking, man, if that's true, which I have no reason to believe it's not in my experience, that, man, we need to be doing something to give back. And I thought, man, what could we do? And I thought, I was thinking about breast cancer, and my background is in the fire service. And we used to do a thing when I was at the fire department in the month of October. We would all wear pink T-shirts and, the tough enough to wear pink. And I thought, man, that would be a really cool thing to do. And so I thought, man, we'll take our company and we'll start doing that. And yes, Mark, we are neighbors, and we're in the same industry, and we are 30 minutes apart, but sat in on a lot of your classes. And one of the things that you always say is that if you have a good idea, then share it. And maybe one of the few times where I thought that I had a good idea, and I thought, man, I'm going to share this thing because it's a lot bigger than us, right? So if we're truly in this to help people, then let's get more people involved. So I reach out to you, and you're like, dude, this is freaking awesome. And then Darren Bebo, the owner of National Chimney, and we figured out pretty quick that, man, we could make this an industry wide thing. And to our knowledge, and still to today, we're the only industry that kind of gathers around and really raises money for this. And then one of the things you taught me was that the chimney sweep trade was the first trade-specific occupational diagnosis of cancer, man. And so, dude, we decided to jump in with both feet, really having no idea really what we were going to do, but we knew we were going to help people, and not really sure how we were going to do it. And
early on, it was like, what do we do? The idea was T-shirts. The idea was something with chimney sweeps, and we were just kind of figuring out how's this thing going to work.
Yeah, man, we were running down a hallway with the lights out, but dude, we were running as fast as we could, right? And we were going to run into some things, but at the end of the day, the motivation was that, dude, we were just going to help people. And dude, there's business success and there's personal success, but I don't know of a better feeling than actually doing something for somebody else and not expecting anything in return.
That's one of the most exciting parts for me, because we get the requests all the time. And as a board, we look through them and we read these stories, and man, we say yes every time, don't we? I mean, it's
yes.
If we have money, we're giving it away every time. It's like,
dude, that's exactly right. I can't tell you how many times I've been, sitting on the couch or hanging out with my wife and kids, and one of those requests comes through, and I start to read it, dude. And I'm a softie, man, dude. Tears start coming down, and it's because, number one, the situation that the people are in, and it just sucks. But then also, man, here we are, and we're in a position where we can actually help somebody. And my mother-in-law, which Mark, you know my wife, and a lot of people on here may or not know my wife, but dude, she's special, and her mom was as well. And her mom died of breast cancer, and I have two boys, almost 11 and an 8-year-old, and they're pretty awesome. My mother-in-law never got to meet my boys and never got to see what an awesome mom my wife is. But man, we carry on in her honor, and everybody has that person that they think about when they think about cancer and how impactful they were in their life. And dude, Mark, you know this, but a lot of people don't know. Dude, we've been able to give out over $100,000.
I know, it's amazing.
We need it, yeah. And dude, we started out, we gave it to cancer research because we were like, man, we don't know what to do. In the first year, we wrote a big check to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. They gave us an award and all this really cool stuff. But man, the more we talked about it, we thought, dude, how can we impact or make the greatest impact on people that are going through and battling cancer right now? And that was paying bills, whether that's a mortgage, a medical bill, a water bill, an electric bill, whatever it is, man. If we can kind of intercede and say, look, you take care of your loved one, or you fight the fight, and we're going to take care of your bills right now, dude. And it has been unbelievably rewarding to just be a part of that.
It's real money to them right then. And people are this industry is really, we started the shirts, and we have a lot of people help us get the shirts out. Darren with National, I'm going to try to have him on next week and talk about his role in it. But man, the industry I love seeing the Sweepaway Cancer shirts. They're cool shirts. They look great. People wear them all the time. People ask what they are. And it feels like we're getting more and more momentum. And, I know the percentage too, but tell the people how much of this money actually goes to the people.
Yeah, man. So that's the crazy thing, right? So when people hear nonprofit or some sort of fundraiser involved with something like this, they just assume that, a certain percentage goes to the people that need it. Well, for us, I can speak to our numbers, 98% of the money that we raise. So if we raise $1, 98 cents of that dollar goes directly back to the people that need it. The other 2%, unfortunately, man, we have to hire an accountant. We have to file certain paperwork and pay taxes and those sorts of things. But 98% of every dollar that is raised goes directly back into somebody's bank account that needs it. And it helps them right then, right there. I had a lady call me, or she actually sent me an email the other day, and she thought it was a scam. And she's like,
I saw that email. She's like, what's this check for?
Yeah. She said, what is this check? And I'm like, well, it's yours. And she's like, this is a scam. This is a scam. And I told her, I said, well, can you talk on the phone? So I called her and I asked her, I said, well, tell me what's going on. Tell me your name. And so I said, and I hope he doesn't mind, but Josh Kelly had submitted an application for someone that he knew. And I explained to this lady who we are, what we do, and that Josh Kelly had put her name in. And I mean, dude, she starts crying. I'm crying. Yeah. And she said to me, she goes, you have no idea what this means that you guys that an entire industry of people, and it's not me, it's not, our board or collective group of individuals. It's our entire, it's everybody that's involved. It's our industry, it's our customers, it's everybody.
Right.
How much it meant to her that in that moment that she could take her mind off of paying her bills for just a little bit and man, just provide the care that in this particular case, it was a loved one of hers that needed her attention, man. And it made it all worthwhile. Every single day.
Yeah. So if people don't know, you can go to sweepawaycancer.com and fill out an application for yourself or for someone else. And that's what happened in this case. She had no idea Josh went on and said, hey, can you help this person? Which happens a lot for us. These come in and they have no idea a check's coming or whatever is coming. And then next thing you know, they get something, and it can really be a blessing for people. There's been so many emails back and forth thanking us so much how it helped their lives. And I wish wish more people could see, when they buy these t-shirts and when they come to the rally and when they do these things and when they do fundraisers for us, how much it really helps people in the probably the worst time of their life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I've talked to my father-in-law about it before, and he made the comment. He was like, man, when Becca's mom was going through her battle, man, it would have been so nice to just have somebody step in and pay a mortgage or two or a medical bill for them. It would have been such a relief. And man, for us to be a part of that has been, dude, it's been incredible and industry-wide. And as this thing gains momentum, and we get more and more applications for aid, man, we're going to need more and more help. I would love to be able to give people as much money as we possibly can, but the more traction we get, the more momentum we get, and the more people find out about us, the more money we're going to need, and the more money we need to raise, and we're dedicated to doing that. I've had sweeps from Japan email me, South Africa, all over Europe, wanting to get involved. And as crazy as this sounds, man, this is becoming a global thing, and it's something that started so small and it's gotten so big so fast, and it's been such a blessing, man, and an honor to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's been super great, and it was a great idea, and I'm glad we could be part of it. We could get this thing off the ground and put just put a lot of help into people's pockets. And I remember one specifically, a little girl who had cancer. I remember seeing the pictures that came into us, and she, had no hair, and she's in a hospital bed. And I'm sure you remember that. Gosh, that was hard to look at that and thanking us and the family did. And just to be able to do something was great. And again, it's not my money. It's not your money. It's the people who donate. And I think we run as an efficient of a nonprofit as you possibly can. It cannot be any cleaner than it is unless we had somebody volunteer their accounting services. But that's the very few things we have to pay for. Most everything else is donated, and we pass it right through. So, man, I'm so proud of it, and great job on it. Let's talk about the upcoming. We have a Sweepaway Cancer Rally. We have basically two things a year that we do. And can you tell people kind of our two big fundraisers?
Yeah, our two big things is that we sell shirts in the month of October. People wear them in the month of October. Some, like, for example, Chuck Hall, huge heart. Chuck Hall gives a portion of his sweepings in the month of October. I'm not saying you got to do that. You got to do whatever you feel like you're led to do. For us, the Sweepaway Cancer shirts are just a part of our uniform. It's what we do. Jasper Drangler wrapped one of his vans in Sweepaway Cancer. We have the logo on all of our vans, but the month of October is a big one for us for selling T-shirts. And then the other big thing that we have is we do a big rally. A lot of people like to ride motorcycles or drive cars. So, Mark, this is actually your brainchild. So we do a rally through the Smoky Mountains. It is absolutely gorgeous. You can ride a motorcycle, you can drive a car, you can drive a minivan. We don't care. And we ride through. We see beautiful scenery. We stay at Fontana Dam Resort. It's absolutely a gorgeous place, and it is worth the trip. And so all of the proceeds from that go directly to helping people as well. And, man, it's just a lot of fun, man, especially after you have run and gunned for so long through the winter months and through the spring, man, to have that event at the end of the year, it is so much fun.
It really is. I rode that area a lot. I love riding motorcycles. And when I came to you guys, I said, man, let's put together a get together. So we can really see people and do something as a group. And the rally came up, and we didn't do it last year, but we did it 2 years prior. And we usually had somebody that had passed from cancer. We did a dedication breakfast. And the first year we had for our friend Jim Robinson, who was a great friend of mine, a great friend of the industry. And he had he loved drinking milk. He loved milk. Whenever I go on rides for him, the guy would just drink he was a dairy farmer. He drank so much milk, and it was so touching the first year. We did a milk toast for him that morning, and we cheered Jim. And it was a very meaningful morning dedication. And it's a group of people who really care and want to help. And again, as Tommy said, ride anything. I don't care. You could ride a bicycle. You probably can't keep up with us, but a motorcycle, a sports car, a minivan, a chimney van, anything. And we've had families in vans. Your family and several other families have been in vans. Just follow us, and we have a Friday night barbecue. And we kind of get together and we really talk and have some announcements and maybe some raffle. Saturday morning, we have a dedication breakfast, and we talk, and then we ride the mountains and ride some of the most beautiful roads in America.
Yes.
And we will end up probably having lunch in Gatlinburg. We'll probably run through there like we did 2 years ago and hit lunch and then keep riding. It's one of the most amazing, fun rides that you can do. And it's for a great cause. So anything else on this Sweepaway Cancer Rally or sweepawaycancer.com that people need to know, Tommy?
Yeah, so let me give you the dates. So the rally is May 28th and 29th. Right. It's $229 per person. Go to our website, sweepawaycancer.com, and you can register for the event there. And I think that one of my favorite quotes, I think Ronald Reagan said it. He said, "There's no amount of good that you can do when you don't care who gets the credit for it." Mm. And we have a board that serves as volunteers. We have vendors. Spark Marketer does our website for free. The girl that does our T-shirts, Kelly Anderson at 185 Promotions, she basically does it at cost. We have so many people that do so many things. Darren, for the longest time at National, was fulfilling, shipping, and taking orders over the phone in National. And he never complained about it. Yeah. So many people that are so dedicated to this, and it's such an inspiration. If you're not a part of it, I don't care where you're from, what you do, what affiliations you have, man, come join us, be a part of this, because it's so much bigger than us and who we are. It's really about the people that we're helping. And I promise you, get involved, and the reward is way bigger than the cost. I promise you that.
For sure. Great stuff, Tommy. And thank you so much for doing this for the industry and so many people. And thank you for being on the show tonight. And yeah. We will see you in a couple of weeks at the rally.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And we hope to see you in the mountains in May.
Heck yeah. See you, buddy.
Bye, buddy.
Oh, so great. So great. I hope if you can't join us, please donate. You can tell how passionate he is. We all are. There's been some amazing fundraisers around. And we just really want to help others. So if you have the heart to help, please help us, help them, and we will pass that money on to the people who need it. All right, next is my good buddy, Alan Rush. Let's welcome Alan to the show. Hang on one second. Here he comes. Alan, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mark. Good to see you.
Hey, welcome. How are you doing?
Man, I'm blessed. I got my a new drone today. So I'm playing. It is the most nerve-wracking thing ever to fly a drone for the first time. And so I'm already studying for my Part 107. So yeah, it's been a good day. How are you?
Why do you need a drone?
Well, I'm out in the field all the time with guys. There are some people don't know this. I've been kind of diagnosed with vertigo. So one of the things that I don't get on roofs as much anymore. And so I always feel bad when I'm with the guys, getting out there. And so there are certain roofs that I don't feel comfortable with them getting on unless I'm there to help them or double jump or something like that. So, drones are certainly a nice way to get something outside of getting nothing. Right. And so, so as you know, there's a lot of regulations around using them commercially. And so I figure if the company's not FAA certified, that at a bare minimum, I'll get FAA certified. And if the need arises, that's another sales tool in our bucket. So.
That's great. Well, for those who don't know you, I think a lot of people that are watching do know who you are, but just introduce yourself. Tell people who you are, what you do. Why should they even listen to the rest of this Facebook Live and Alan Rush? Why should
what else are you going to do on a Tuesday night at 7? That's what I say. Yeah, if you don't know me, I'm Alan Rush. I own a sales training company called Rush Profits. I'm one of the partners in the SureFire Training Academy. And basically what I do about 250 days a year is I'm in the field with chimney technicians every single day, riding along with them, helping them get the most out of their sales. I work with the business owners to find out where the gaps are in their sales systems, their processes, in the training programs that they have. And then I teach them the processes that I've developed. And then I not only show them the way, I help them implement it live by going to real customers' homes and performing real sales calls and closing real deals for real money. So,
how different is that, real quick? I sorry to interrupt your introduction. How different is it to teach a sales class and go out and see it in a truck in real life in front of a real customer?
Everybody probably watching this has done training, either online, in person, been to a convention, had a sales trainer come to their business, or taught sales yourself. And anytime I teach a class, I always get amazing feedback. And it's not on me. It's like, man, that was great. That was awesome. Took so many notes. And then, you go back a week later and it's like, so man, how are those new techniques working? Yeah, about that. It was, kind of work got in the way, life got in the way, habit got in the way. And man, it was a lot of great stuff. I've got this whole book of notes here, but, we're kind of doing what we always did. And so what we quickly learned, that habit doesn't, you just can't overcome habit with a class. So the execution side, and then you have different learning styles, right? Some people learn well in the classroom. Some people learn well by me giving them feedback live in the field. But most people really learn by watching and emulating and hearing language and gaining the confidence of seeing the sales process in action to say, oh my gosh, that really works. Oh my gosh, we just closed a $30,000 deal. Oh my gosh, they gave you a $15,000 check. What? And so just kind of, the different learning styles. And plus it's just a lot of fun. So
I have to tell you, when you work with my company quite a bit, and when you go out with the technicians, if they're coachable, if they're open, they always learn, and you come back with a lot of checks. I'm not trying to, hex you or anything like that, but you do have a way about you. So let's talk about this first topic: technician versus sales consultant. What's the difference?
So one thing I want to get out there is I'm not watching comments or whatever the case may be, but I put this out on the Chimney Sales Group. I put this out on my page, my Rush Profits page, the SureFire pages. I really hope this will be an interactive type of live here, because I think that one of the advantages of having a live training is being able to interact with people. So I certainly have some high level topics I want to talk about, but if there's questions, I hope people will bring them in, whether it's a challenge they're having, an objection they can't get through, or what would you do, or those types of things. I just wanted to open with that. But by far, if we are to narrow things down, I hate the word problem, right? Replace the word problem with opportunity. The biggest opportunity in our business being, and I know we have all services listening, but I mainly work with chimney guys, is the idea of, am I a tech or am I a salesperson? And if you've ever been through one of my sales courses, my number one rule of sales is if you're selling, stop. And so the last thing that we want to do is come across as a sales guy. No one wants a sales guy in their home. No one likes salespeople, and no one wants to be sold to. So, but at the same time, we're an industry of codes and standards. We're an industry of technical ability. We're an industry of diagnostics. We're a industry of really a group of people that love to go in and say, and hey, Rob, good to see you. And thanks, Mike Fazy. I appreciate that comment as well. But we're a group of technicians that like to go into a home, and we're proud of our ability to find what's wrong and to tell the customer what's wrong and to say, Mrs. Jones, you called the right guy. Here's what's wrong. Here's how we fix it. And here's my proposal. And we take pride in that. And that's just the technical problem solving side of us. The problem is when we do that from a technical ability, we're not always talking on the level of something that's important to the customer. So until we really dive into why we're there and what the customer wants out of it or what it means to the customer, even though we technically did our job from an inspection standpoint, it doesn't necessarily always translate into a transaction.
What are some of the biggest disconnects you see, especially from a technician mindset, which most of us coming into this business are technicians first. There's very few come in as salespeople. We got into this business because we like the technical part. We like doing the work. We like being the expert. But that's very different than being a consultant, because I think one of the reasons that so many people love this industry is because you like being an expert in something that very few people are an expert in. And there's an addiction to that. There's a pride in that. There's a thing that you can help people with your knowledge, and that you have this, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a superpower about knowledge. But man, that doesn't always translate into the customer really understanding what the heck you're talking about or caring about what you talk about.
That's it 100%, right? And keep in mind, you have to have both pieces, right? You have to be able to diagnose and inspect and determine what the problem is and put together a report and put together a proposal. And if you're already, that's the hard part to me, right? That's hey, let's diagnose and figure it out. But not if the customer doesn't really know half the words we use, in the chimney industry. You tell a customer they got an unparged smoke chamber and gaps in their flue tile, they're gonna, like, whoa, so what, right? So the idea is, because you have this problem, here's what this means, and here's what's going to happen if we don't address it. So I think this is one of the topics we were going to dive into, what I kind of call the big three. And I always joke that I'm not a creative guy by any means. Like I don't. So whenever I realized there was 3 keys, whenever a customer finds a problem, I was like, I need to trademark or copyright this, and I couldn't come up with anything at all clever. So I called it the big 3.
I remember it. It's good. Before we go too far.
Yeah.
This, as Alan said, this is an interactive. Please write down, please ask Alan questions while he's on here, and I will watch the comments as they come. So I don't mean to interrupt, but I just want to make sure this is a 2-sided conversation. So keep going about the big 3.
Yeah. And I don't know if we have owners watching or technicians watching, but, to sidebar for just a second, it's pretty amazing to me, and I'm going to do a little shameless SureFire plug here. Our number 1 course that people watch on there is a course called "Are You Insane? Handling the Top 6 Customer Objections." Yeah. And it is pretty amazing to me that whether you've been in this business for 3 months or 30 years, and I've dealt with all of you, you're getting the exact same customer responses every single day. That's more than I expected. I need to talk to my wife. We got other big projects we got to deal with, or, let me get another bid, or can you email that over to me? Or, honestly, there's only so many things that a customer is going to say to you. So what's amazing to me is how little time people actually spend on being better prepared to respond to those types of comments from a customer. And one of the things back when one of my first big sales jobs, we created this thing called lambs, and it came up when somebody said Mary had a little dog, and we were, what, and it was the idea that the fact that Mary had anything little besides a lamb made no sense. And so we came up with the idea of lambs, and the idea that there should be a word or a phrase or a response to every possible objection that are out there. So when a customer says, A, your lamb is B. When a customer says, that's more than I expected, you immediately say, wow, okay, well, that's, I definitely don't like to hear that, but, kind of, are we in the ballpark? What were you thinking this was going to be? Whatever your comfort language is. And so getting into that. So back to the big 3, this is, guys, I'm telling you, if you will write these 3 things down, you will sell more deals. It is really that simple. Is Every time you find a problem with the customer, you do three things. You first identify what this thing is, what the purpose of this thing is. I always use the simple analogy for the chimney guys of a chimney crown. Whether it's a mortar wash, a crown, whatever we want to call it. When we start using words like crown and wash, a customer has no idea what we're talking about most of the time. But when we talk about number one, it's the big concrete block on top of your chimney. Number two, and what does it do is, it's designed to keep water out of our masonry structure. It's designed to protect the structure from water intrusion, because when water gets in there, we start to have, nothing good happens with water. Number two is what has happened to this thing. So as I'm showing them a picture of their cracked crown or their cracked wash, as you can see here, it's damaged, but let's talk about what happened to it, whether it was a lack of an expansion joint, freeze thaw damage, expansion of the flue tile during fire, whatever it is. We're displaying our expertise, and we're also explaining to them, that we know what happened, but and that's what technicians are great at. Technicians are great at 1 and 2. Here's this thing, and Miss Jones, I found out what happened to it, and then they go straight into, here's how you fix it: crown seal, crown coat, new crown, cap, whatever it is, right? But they forget number 3, which is why people buy, and that is what happens if we don't address this damage. It's the impact, right? It's the implication of not moving forward. It's the you have a cracked crown. We know what a crown does. We know how it happened, but if we do not take care of fixing this crown, then water is going to continue to intrude into the structure. What does that mean? More freeze thaw damage, more expense, possible mold mildew, possible into the home, possible water stains, possible, all kinds of things, right?
Safety issues.
Safety issues. I always make the joke that, that there's not a customer that wakes up in the morning that says they can't wait to buy that crown seal, right? but they certainly wake up and, oh my gosh, there's a stain on my ceiling. What caused that? How do I make that go away? And how do I make sure that doesn't come back? And
right. So just to be clear, the big 3 are: what is it? What happened to it? And lastly, what happens if you do nothing about it?
That's right. I'm not saying you have to fix this, but just know that if you don't fix this, this is what will continue to happen. It's not it might, it may, it will. And so if my proposal value is not more or greater than how important that thing that will happen is to you, then a transaction is not going to happen.
Right. And so that, I always like to say, this crack that we're looking at is the smallest it's ever going to be today. Yeah. It's only getting bigger.
Absolutely.
So let's go over a few of these questions. We're getting a nice feedback here. So let's answer a few questions before we go on to the next thing. Okay. So Colby Armstrong, how do you create urgency and close more deals on the first appointment without being too aggressive with the customer? Great question.
Yeah, Colby, awesome question. And it's literally number 3 of what we just talked about here, of the big 3, is the idea of, hopefully you have a good discovery process, right? When you walk into the home, you build a little rapport with the customer, you're asking your series of questions, you're getting, my favorite opening question, hopefully you guys are using something similar, is, what brings us out today? Or what are we hoping to accomplish? Or I see on my paperwork, we have you down for a sweep and inspection. Tell me a little bit about what's going on. Whatever the first thing that comes out of the customer's mind is, or mouth is what they really care about, right? I always say no one just randomly picks up the phone and calls a chimney sweep. There's a reason. They saw something on the news. They're selling their home. A neighbor had a fire. They got an ad. They saw a bill. There's some reason they decided to call you, and it's your job to find out what it is. So when you go through the big 3 and you've done your discovery, when you get to the end, you would say something like, Colby, you might say, so Miss Jones, when I got here, you told me that you've been here a few years, and this is the home that, to use your words, you're dying in, right? You're not going anywhere, and you want to make sure that you can enjoy the fireplace and that you don't have any kind of issues. And as we talked about, by this picture that you're looking at right here, the top of your chimney's got a little bit of deterioration, but good news, the structure itself is still stable. But we got a little bit of cracking going on. This is called your crown, right? Go through those 1, 2, 3. Explain how it deteriorated. The good news is, again, everything below it's good. But at this point, if we don't take care of the top of the crown, then water is going to continue to get in there. And then next time I come back, it just never gets better from here.
So to answer his thing, you just said it. To not sound too aggressive, you use the term good news. You say good news.
I use, and we did a podcast on this, I use good news for everything. And if it's just the crown, good news, right? The structure is completely stable. If we just need a little bit of tuck pointing, hey, great news. It's still structurally stable. I've just got to, fix a little bit of the mortar in there. If I've got to rebuild the top 2 rows, great news. It's only isolated to the top 2 rows. Everything below it is good. If it's a roof up rebuild, great news. Everything below the roof line's, still stable. Whatever it is I'm letting them know that by not addressing whatever our proposal is now, there is more to come.
Yeah. And so I think that could answer his question. You're showing urgency. You're saying good news, but it needs to be fixed because if you choose not to fix this, you're choosing the consequence, which is further damage, potential safety issues. You're choosing to risk it, and everybody doesn't necessarily like to wear a seatbelt. So yeah, some people want to make sure everything is taken care of, and some people just want to risk it, but at least you've delivered the information. And when you show them what could happen, it puts them fully in the driver's seat, and you're not being aggressive. You're just saying, see these pictures, see this problem. We discussed what it is, and here's a solution if you want to take care of it.
That's it. And real quick, wrap that in a bow. A technician that I would go out with initially might say something like, here's a picture of your crown. You notice it's got a crack in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to seal that crack with an elastomeric sealant that's good for 10 years. And it's called Crown Seal. And that costs, $475. Right? That's selling a crown repair. Whereas if we go in there and we will say, hey, look, you've got this point of water intrusion. We know that water is bad for the chimney. All these things will happen. But the good news is everything below it is good. So at this point, all we really need to do is just button up by securing the top of that crown. And if we don't address that, then those other things are going to happen. Right? I don't even have to really say how I'm doing it and all that kind of detail. The point is, the point is the water gets stopped or these things happen.
Yeah, I don't think you have to use brand names of products, how you're going to do it, none of that. And in fact, like you said, you barely have to use the terminology because let's be honest, if you're listening and before you were in the chimney business, you probably didn't know what a crown was, what a damper was, what a smoke chamber was, what a flue top was, what a chase cover was. You didn't know any of these terms. So to expect the customer to know what you're talking about when they just met you and you went through 5 terms, they're lost. So just explain what it is, what went wrong, and basically what happens if you don't fix it. Great stuff. Got another question. Kyle asks, let's see if I can see the whole thing because I think it gets cut off. So how do you go from educating the customer on parging the smoke chamber without losing them in technical wording if it's been that way since the house was made? That's so common. Good question.
I just want to say how impressed I am that I understand this question. If you'd asked me 8 years ago what, same as a customer, right? Parging a smoke chamber, I've looked at you with big bug eyes. So there is a very specific process I do for this, Kyle, and it is a great question. And so the real key is involving the customer in the scan, right? Make sure that when you're getting ready, whether it's a level 1, level 2, run the camera every single time, involve the customer in the scan live. Don't just show them a bunch of pictures, at the end in a report, or else you're going to get into really a conversation that you don't want to get into. So what I do, and if I was better prepared, I would have had my iPad with me right here, and I would show you an example. But I use a picture that's available. I'll send it to anybody that wants it. Mark, I don't know if you have my email anywhere, but Alan@rushprofits.com. If you'll email me, I'll send you this diagram. It's a free diagram. I got it from Saver Systems and Heat Shield. And it's basically just a simple diagram that shows a firebox, a smoke chamber, and the flue system. And the flue system's a terracotta system with mortar in it. The one side of the smoke chamber has a parged side, and the other side has the unparged side that shows the core blade. And so what I do, I call it Chimney 101. When I sit down with the customer, I say, okay, Miss Jones, and this is very important that we use positive language here. that we say, here's what I am looking for, what I want to see. I explain what I want to see in the firebox. I explain that in the smoke chamber, I want to see a nice smooth transition, because basically I'm taking this big volume of all the bad byproducts, right? Smoke, creosote, carbon monoxide, and I'm funneling this large area into a small area of your flue system. And I want that to get there as quick as possible. Then I'll explain the flue system. But to answer your specific question, as soon as I get to the smoke chamber and I've got the camera, they're watching the camera there. If I see a core hole, a corbling, any type of unparging, I will literally stop right there, and I will kind of just let the camera do its work. And then I'll go back to the diagram and write this down. This is something I added about a year or two ago, and it works gold. Is I'll say, so Mr. This is that kind of the unparged smoke chamber that we were talking about, basically, that you can imagine the smoke twirling around. And I believe when I first got here, you said, you had a little bit of smoke smells coming back in. This may be one of the contributing factors to that. Again, you're tying back to what's important to them. You had a little bit of smoke staining on the front of your hearth. We're tying it back to them. But here's the question is, now, Ms. Jones, remind me what year you said this home was built? 62. Okay, well, that makes perfect sense, because, in the 60s, they had a little bit different codes and standards there. And this is the way that they built them. And what we've learned since then is that the number one source of chimney fires happens right here in the smoke chamber. And what happens is, as you can imagine, creosote gets into these little areas that we can't sweep. And when I can't sweep them, it puts these little pockets of fuel right above the hottest part of the fire. So basically, it's something that's very common, built in the 60s. We see it every day. We fix it every day. And all we want to do is make sure that we smooth that out before we use the fireplace.
Exactly. His point too was, people like to say, well, it's always been this way. It was built this way. My grandfather, the master mason, built it this way, and it has to be fine. And you can't be correct because you just walked in here. But I also like to say it has been okay. But the problem is chimneys get more and more dangerous as they get older. And yours is getting older, as we all know. And this problem, they changed the codes from when yours was built, because without this thing I'm recommending, it caused problems, and yours is aging. And a lot of times after people fix their chimneys, they use it more than ever because they just spent a bunch of money to fix it. And now these things become more exposed and more of a problem. So I think, to his point, you button it up by saying, you're right, it was that way. Since then, codes have changed. Codes are there to protect the people. They're not there for us as, contractors. But we're just letting you know what the code is. It changed due to public safety and to reduce the chance that you're going to catch your house on fire. So here's what we should do.
Well, the beautiful thing about that is we've all been to that at the end of the proposal, where we present it and they give you that, well, it's been fine for 30 years, or, hey, isn't this grandfathered in? Right? You're getting rid of this objection right during the scan, because they'll ask you right then and there, even if you went through that whole language I did, well, isn't that grandfathered? Absolutely it is. I said, but let's talk about what grandfathering means. And there's no grandfathering when it comes to safety. And I'll literally ask them, I said, do you know why we have codes and standards? Right? If they're being tough on me, right, I make them answer it. And they, even if they don't know the exact answer, they know enough to know that we have codes and standards to keep them safe, or to keep things safer, right? And so once they admit exactly, and when you tell them this is the number one source of chimney fires, which is true, and when you tell them that this is the hottest part of the fire and you've got pockets of fuel right above that, the last thing you want to do is use this fireplace in this condition. And I'm very clear to them right now, based on what we've seen at this point, you do not want to use this fireplace. The good news is this is very common, very fixable, and we take care of these kind of problems every day.
Yeah, so good. Thank you. I hope that answers your question. Another one from Kyle. Do you believe in using the should do, could do, and must do approach?
So I'm not sure if I fully understand the context of that.
I think basically the question is, hey, here's some things you should do. Here's some things
prioritizing.
You have to do this, right?
Yeah, prioritizing. So certainly I will, if a customer, one of my favorite questions they'll say is, so do we need to do all this? Right. Yeah. And every single time my answer is, with a flat, straight face, is absolutely not. It always throws them for a loop because they're expecting you as the sales guy to say yes. Do I have to do all this? No, absolutely. You don't do any of this. I mean, it's your home. I'm just, keep in mind while I'm here to educate you on your system. I'm here to make sure that you understand your chimney, your appliance, and how to use it properly. The things that I am telling you are the reasons why either you can't use it or that you have some sort of problem, right? So if we are going, again, hopefully you have had a good discovery. We find out what's important to them. But the way I always will prioritize is if someone's saying, I can't do this whole project. I've only got, this much money, or I've just had to put on a roof, or I've got this other thing coming up. First of all, hopefully you have financing available in your company. Totally get it. I've been doing this. I always tell people I've been doing this for 8 years, and I've never met somebody that had a chimney budget. The cool news is
that comment. Nobody has a chimney budget. Nobody's.
We deal with this every day, Miss Jones. We deal with this every day. So I get it. But as you know, especially with the exterior, we're going to go through another freeze-thaw cycle. This chimney's not going to get better on its own. It will be worse. Hopefully not to have a crazy difference, but I assure you it will be worse. So we can go ahead and take care of this damage now, pay for it a year later with our no interest financing. So that's like my go-to on that. If I don't have that, then at a bare minimum, I'm talking about let's stop the damage, right? Let's fix the water intrusion points. Let's make sure we don't have any more expenses at the expense of you not using the fireplace. The last thing I would ever do is sell a customer an insert, a stove, something, and not take care of the water intrusion because we're just, let's be honest, water and metal. I mean, it's not good. So if I'm trying to prioritize something for a customer, I always prioritize the exterior first. Unless it's a heating flue, then I always prioritize the heating flue in the north.
Good stuff. Colby said, thank you guys. And he owns a gutter company. He actually came to our Blue Collar University Summit that we had a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He's here in Nashville. And so we've got other services on here. Chad Murray, great point. Educate and offer the why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great stuff. Chad's got a lot of good stuff. We're going to have Chad on as a guest. He's going to be doing a course for us. We did a course already on scripting. Can't wait to have Chad in here. He's got a lot of great insight on how to run a very successful chimney operation. Okay, Ellie Norris says, how do you transition from the inspection report to the estimate while you're presenting on site? Great question.
So, great question. And the honest answer is I don't transition. I do them at the same time. So there's a very key mistake that I think salespeople make or technicians make, and that is they go through and they do their inspection, they do all this work, they get all their pictures, they get the report, and then they put it all together, and then they come and then they all at once puke all over the customer. Here's all the stuff that I found. Here's all your photos. Here's all the problems. Basically, your chimney's garbage. You got all this money you got to spend, and look, it's $10,000. But what do you think? You want to sign? That's kind of
at that point.
It's one of my sayings is you can't overcome need and price at the same time. Meaning, if a customer is still processing that they thought their fireplace was fine or their stove was fine, and you're telling them that it's unusable, and not only is it unusable, they've got to spend $7,000 or $8,000 to fix it. It puts them into a paralysis mode, or it puts them into a shock mode, or that's crazy, or that's way more than I was prepared to spend, or all those types of objections that we're used to hearing. So the number one mistake that people make is they do not involve their customer during the process. I have a saying called "There's no surprises at the proposal," meaning that by the time we sit down and talk about what we're going to do for them, they already know every single problem that they have. They don't necessarily know how to fix it. They don't necessarily know the pricing. They don't know the solution, but they know it's a problem. So if I'm involving them in the scan, they're seeing the interior damage live. If I get up on the roof, find some, exterior damage, I'm coming back. I maybe show them one picture. I'm bringing them up to speed that, hey, I told you there's two main things I'm checking for up on your roof. I'm looking for structural stability, and I'm looking for water intrusion. I found a little bit of deterioration, a little bit of water intrusion, but don't worry, I'm going to take care of that for you, and I'm going to put it in my proposal, right? All I want to do is plant the seed that they know that there's a problem that I'm coming to the table to resolve. Because then I go to my van, I work up my inspection report, I work up my proposal, and I tell the customer, look, we've talked about everything. Give me about 20 minutes. I'm going to go put together your report. I'm going to put together your recommendations. And just a slight note, guys, use words like recommendation, proposal, solution. Don't use bid, estimate, quote. Those are all price sensitive, commoditized type of words. So when you tell the customer, I'm going to go work up your recommendations, or I'm going to, it's just much lighter. It's more about them than about the product. So what do you think they're doing when you're in the van working up your inspection report and the proposal? I assure you, they are on the phone with their husband. They are on the internet searching, what does liner mean, or what does flue tile gaps mean? They're getting enough information, but the real key here is that they're getting over the shock, right? But that's happening while you're not there. So when you come in, you're ready to have a more calm conversation. They already know all the problems. Again, they don't have to like it, but they at least understand it. And then you talk about the things that you learned from your discovery to say, when we got here, here's what you told me you wanted. We already know you have all these issues. Here's some pictures of these issues. Here's the big three of those issues, right? These are the things that are standing in the way of you getting what you want. So let's talk about that, right? And so here is what we're going to do to take care of giving you what you want. And then so at that point, instead of you selling them or telling them the products they need to fix the problems they have, you become the hero by saying, look, don't shoot the messenger here. We got these kind of issues, you understand them, but based on that, you told me this is what you wanted, and so here's how we get you there. And so I literally will show them the inspection report, and then I'll go through all that, and then I'll immediately show them the proposal right then and there that resolves all the deficiencies that we just talked about in the inspection report.
So good. I do apologize. I said Ellie Norris. It's Eli Norris. I'm a Predators fan, and we have a guy named Ellie Tolvanen, and they always call him Eli, and I got used to looking at him. He's from Finland, and so sorry, Eli.
Eli, that's a great question.
It is a great question. I'll tell you what, I've got several other questions. I'm going to move to one of our topics that we were going to do. And Alan, if this goes long, can you stay on? Because
absolutely.
And I think we just feel like we just gotten warmed up. So we normally go for an hour. If you got to cut off and watch it later, great. If you can hang with us, we're going to talk sales. So let me go to the next thing. So this kind of goes along with Eli's question, presenting on the spot versus emailing proposals or bids. Talk about what you see out there and what's better.
Well, I mean, there's not even a question here, right? Whenever I do a sales class, I make everybody do the Boy Scout oath. You raise your right hand and repeat after me. I will never, ever, and then add 5 evers after it, ever email a proposal to a customer without talking to them about it first. Yeah, I mean, it is, if you want to throw away an opportunity, throw away money, throw away just such a huge percentage of closing that opportunity, then email them the proposal without talking to them. And I get people all the time that are like, well, the customer wasn't there, or I had a nanny, or it was a real estate inspection, or it was a lockbox, and I didn't even have a customer there, so I couldn't present. As soon as you email it, you've lost control. No matter how great your proposal is, no matter how great your inspection report is, when they open it up, you guys know this to be true. They go to the bottom right page, they look at the big number, they have a reaction, they decide do they want to then read the rest of the report, or do they want to get another opportunity or another quote.
The sales process is over. If you haven't talked to them and you're not working through it and you email that bid, sales process is over. You go into the bottom, they make a buying decision. And it's so different if you're there and present it and they have a reaction, or they wince, or they have a question, versus you're not there. I'm sure you see it all the time.
All the time. And look, if they're not there, that's the reality of what we have. I mean, we're in a COVID world too. I mean, sometimes you'll get there and they'll be like, look, I'll be up in my office for the next 2 hours, leave the checks on the counter, right? I have no chance to involve that customer. I have no chance to involve them in the scan. I set the expectation right there that absolutely totally get it. That's the new crazy world that we're in. I'm going to put together a report. If there are any recommendations, I will put that together for you as well. When is the best time that I can call you that we can go over this? So I do one of two things. I either get them on the phone, and as soon as I have them on the phone, I email them the report and tell them to open it so I can walk them through it. That's the easiest way. But if you have just a little bit of creativity and time, And another shameless SureFire plug. There's a course that I did called Presenting Safely in a New Crazy COVID World or something like that. But the idea that our smartphones or our iPads, today you can get Zoom one-on-one completely free. So I will pull up all my photos, my inspection report, my proposal, and I will literally Zoom with the customer and share the photos as if I was sitting right there with them, go over everything and present virtually right then. Now, if it's a big enough opportunity and you have to define, what that is, there's nothing better than going back to the home, right? Go say, totally get it. You're busy. Can I come back after 5 or, come back in another day? That's ideal. But at a bare minimum, you've got to talk them through it. Because if you don't get the objection or you don't get to hear what they have to say, then you're really never going to overcome it.
Just think about whenever, just on that point, whenever you meet somebody for the first time, you kind of have a certain way that you meet somebody coming into your house doing something and they leave. The next time you see somebody, it's almost like, if you had a good experience, it's almost like they're your friend or, hey man, good to see you again. Right. So when you come back in to present, and we ran some numbers on our business, if we can get back and get in front of the customer for a second visit, you got like over a 90% close rate. If they invite you back in and they know something's coming, they know you have a proposal, they're ready, they let you in, you're going to close it. So why not set it up so it's that way? Why leave it to chance that they call you and ask you to come back? Why not say, hey, great, I'm going to work this up. There's a lot going on here. When can I get back? And 15 minutes, 30 minutes, we'll go through this and make sure you understand it. If you want the job, that's what you do. If you don't want the job, email the bid.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right.
If you don't want to, email it.
Yeah, it's a good point. If you're a business owner and you've, and there's no incentive for your guys to close deals, there's some people that are not on commission or they're hourly, expect you're losing a larger percentage of deals that you're throwing money away. So,
or I see the same thing. All the bids come back to the owner. The owner prepares the estimate and emails it out. It's even worse, even a lower closing rate, because one, the owner probably didn't have anything to do with it. It's completely removed. I mean, it'd be great if the owner put it together and went back out and saw the customer and put it together as the owner and presented it. But just emailing it from a total remote location. I can give you an example. I got a proposal on a phone system for my company, and I told the guy, he came, met with me, told him everything I wanted. And I'm thinking in my mind, $4,000 to $6,000 for a phone system. And he's like, great, I'll go back and work it up. Now, he went back and he emailed it to me, which, again, like we're saying, you shouldn't have. It was like $12,000. Well, me as the buyer, I'm like, oh, heck no, I'm just going to call somebody else. But on his point, he kept calling me. Hey, man, did you get my email? Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? Finally, about the third call, I said, yeah, we'll talk about it. His list of items that I needed to have done, I didn't understand one single one of them. It was all this jargon. It was PDRI this. It was switch that. I just didn't understand any of it. I just understood the bottom price was $12,000, 3 times more expensive than I thought it would be.
Totally.
Now, to his point, he came back. He said, well, let's talk about it again. He came back. We went down through there. He said, okay, I thought you wanted all this. I said all this. You said you wanted that. And then we whittled it down to $8,000, still double what I wanted to pay. But I felt like I saved $4,000 and I got a phone system. I'm telling you guys, if you're emailing bids, you're wasting your time. A lot of guys have too much work right now. Like, I don't have time. Good for you. That may not always be the case.
Absolutely.
And why not do fewer jobs at higher price and better jobs that you want to do than just whatever happens to pop up from your estimates that you email out?
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to go through a few more questions. And then, so here we've got, let's see, this is a great one from Kivo Martinez. I've learned a lot from Alan, working with him just 3 days, watching him and listening to questions he asked to build a report based on the client's needs. Made a great inspector and salesman out of me. That's nice.
Kevin, man, it's good to see you on here, man. Gosh, I mean, it's been probably 5-6 years since we've been in the field. Yeah, I do, even though it's been so long, I do remember almost the joke that well, we definitely were proposed on the spot, but in his market, I remember we went out 3 days and we closed like 9 out of 9, and it was one of those things that was. We came back and the owner was like, "What just happened?" And it was like, "Man, this market's easy, And so, but yeah, you got to propose on the spot. I mean, otherwise, what are you gonna do? Get them on the phone if they're not there. Absolutely, Kyle. Absolutely. If you can't get them on the phone, set up an appointment. And the point is, look, if you want to sell them or not sell them, send them the inspection report. Great. Go ahead and send them the inspection report. It's going to say all these things as long as your inspection report does not have the proposal, the recommendations, or the pricing. And if they can't get on the phone right now, say, great. When's a good time that we can do that for you? Right. And just set that up and have the conversation.
Yeah, good stuff. And then Kyle one more time says, I text them the photos and then call them. Right. Some type of interaction after or during the proposals to explain what they're looking at. How many times you send out pictures and they still don't know what the heck you took a picture of? They don't know what that black line in the middle of the picture is. Hopefully you marked it up. It said crack, void, problem, whatever, separation. But good stuff. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for the interaction. Let's go to the next question that we had talked about, which was the purpose of discovery questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And to Kyle's point, real quick on a story that this actually was at your company, and we may have talked about this on a podcast, was we went to a renter landlord lessee situation, and the chase cover was just shot. Just rusted, dented in. Pooling water. Just looked awful. Got a great picture of just rusted through, pitting. And all I did was send that one picture to the landlord and said, give me a call. And it wasn't 3 seconds. The phone rang. It's like, oh, what is that? And then I was into a conversation. So absolutely, Kyle, great point. The markup software, if you guys don't know, I use a program called a Notable. I didn't have this, so this may not show up well on the phone, but just an example of just really easy. Take a picture, point to points. You can mark it up. You can draw arrows. You can zoom in. You can do those types of things. So if your software doesn't already do that, if you're going to text people stuff, then by all means, just draw their attention to the areas that you want to. And again, you're doing something that your competition's not. Your proposal is going to look a little more professional.
Can you people on that? I'll make you be the full screen. Can you show them that zoom feature that Notable has? Is that too hard, or did I put you on the spot too much?
On my phone, it probably won't be as impressive, but I can absolutely give me one. Why don't you give a 20-second chat, and then I'll pull up a masonry photo, and then.
All right, so I'm going to go over. Kyle says again, he says, I circle and type on the photo. Yes, exactly. And then James Paul has a question, and we'll come back to this, but when reviewing the inspection report, how much detail do you go into, or just the major items? But so in this program, and I know I totally put him on the spot. It would have been better if we planned this, which we didn't. This program called you might need to spell it.
It's a Notable. It's ANNOTABLE, right? So, and again, this is not going to be great on the phone. I just picked literally a random picture that had a separation from the house and had a little, obviously moss, mold, mildew, has some hairline mortar structure fractures. So basically, and I'll see if I can do this. There is a zoom feature that I can literally zoom in here, and I can really just live with the customer start showing them, all the points that they may not be able to see with their naked eye, right? These are all places that, it may look minor, but when you're water gets into a lot of places, and these are actually some pretty large gaps. And then on this house, I remember we sold a repair here as well, and you can just really just see how many points of water intrusion. And when you're with a customer, especially on an iPad, where the screen is much bigger, and they're like, oh, well, that doesn't look that bad. It's just a little bit of tuck point. And then you like zoom in, like, oh my God, I had no idea,
Even on this broadcast, it was impressive. So it was, I like, even me watching, I'm like, dang, dude, that got right in there on all those head joints and gaps. And
yeah, exactly.
What a great tool that you're showing for everybody. So let's talk real quickly about the purpose of discovery questions. And you've hit on it, through this whole thing, but just go over that one more time.
Well, it's certainly the number one weakness of technicians by far. And this is just habit, guys. I mean, whether you've been doing this for months or for years, you pretty much go in and do the exact same thing every single time, right? The customer's responses may lead you in a little bit different area, but for the most part, you go in there, you have your standard 2, 3, 4 questions, right? It's so how's it going? What brings this out? Any issues, anything we need to know about? Maybe you're asking, when's the last time it was serviced or any problems? But for the most part, it's a pretty generic conversation with the customer that really gives you very little information when it comes to the proposal. And so what I want people to really grasp is that discovery questions are for the sale and for no other purpose. And some people challenge me on this, but I assure you that as a technician, you can go into an empty home, you can go into a real estate situation, you can go into never talk to one person, and you can do a thorough evaluation, a thorough inspection. You can fill out your inspection report, and you can fill out a proposal without ever talking to a person. So when you look at it that way, from a technician standpoint, you don't need the customer, right? But you need the customer to buy the recommendations. And so that's why we have discovery questions. And so first of all, if you don't know why you're asking the question, don't ask it. It really is that simple. Like, if you don't know why
you see that, right? They ask a question and they never use the answer in any part of the proposal or the talk.
100%. When's the last time that you had it serviced? Well, if the customer says never or last week and your proposal doesn't change, then you shouldn't have asked that question, right? I mean, the idea is, how important is this thing to them? If they've never had it serviced, then I assure you something's wrong. They didn't just randomly all of a sudden out of 10 years decide to pick up the phone and call you. There is some reason you're there, and you got to figure out what that is. If they just had it serviced last year and you weren't the company that serviced it last year, somebody wasn't happy with somebody else's service. So I'm going to dive into that.
Right.
And whatever they did, I'm not going to do. It's pretty much those types of things. And so, is this your forever home? Is it, how long have you been in the home? How important is this to you? Is it giving you everything that you want out of the system? When questions, right? WHEN, when questions. When do you typically use the fireplace? Put the customer into the memories, right? When Thanksgiving, Christmas, grandkids, romance, whatever, a glass of wine. Those types of things. Is it doing everything that you want it to do? Mm-hmm. Right? Well, it doesn't give a lot of heat. Well, no, it's a fireplace. Let's talk about that, right? It's a big hole in the middle of your living room. Have you considered something, right? Know what those questions are, know why you're asking them. And then most importantly, when you get to the proposal, you tie in your solution to the problem that's standing in their way of getting what they want.
Right.
A quick example, Miss Jones, you told me you've been here for 10 years, you're dying in the house, that you don't want to think about this again. There's a couple of different ways I could have went about this. I could kind of band-aid this or give you the lifetime fix based on what you told me. I want to make sure that you not only, nobody likes to make this investment to begin with, but the last thing I want you to do is have to make this investment ever again. So not only are we going to take care of this problem, but we're going to stand behind it through life for you.
Right.
How much different is that than, we have this big stainless outside mount cap that sheds water, and we're selling products versus helping the customer, right?
Yeah, so good. A couple more things, and I'm not sure that we actually answered James' question. James Paul said, when reviewing the inspection, how much detail do you go into, just the major items? I know that when you go into all the stuff, you go into the good stuff and the bad stuff, because if you just tell them bad stuff, it's looking negative. But if you will show that, hey, there's these things that are good, then I think it's easier it's almost like leadership. Like, if you're always coming down on your people, and then, you don't say nice stuff to them, then you're always mad. And they're like, well, that's just how they are. He's always mad. Or if you're always nice, you never get mad. All bragging on people doesn't work either, because you always brag on people. So in this report, you go over it all, right?
For sure. And I just realized there's going to be a lot of little shameless plugs in here. But on SureFire, there is a course I did called Who's the Inspection Report Really For? And it literally is an hour of talking about this exact question, James. But Mark, you just covered the highlight of it. But the idea is, what did the customer pay for, right? And if your mindset is the customer paid you to give them an estimate, or the customer paid you to tell them how much money they need to pay you to fix the problems that you found, then I would challenge that that's not the right mindset. When you think about an inspection report, what are they really buying? They're buying an understanding of their system. They're buying your expertise. They're buying knowledge, right? And so if you own, and I'll tell you, I see a lot of reports that are this way. The only thing they put in the report are the things that are wrong.
Honestly, the industry taught us to do that a lot, because if you put something right, it could be held against you. And sure. So if you can just list the things that are wrong, at least that you notated that. Because if I said, hey, it met the right clearances, but something was hidden, that we wouldn't necessarily put down something positive. But hey, you have the right, hearth size. You have the right whatever. The damper looks like it's in good working condition, like, those kind of things.
For sure. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I always like to throw that legal disclaimer in there, that this is from everything that we're talking about is from a sales perspective, not from a legal perspective. Look, you've got to have all the right, talk to your attorneys, know your state laws, your local laws, have the customer sign off that they understand that this is not a statement of fire worthiness. This is not, this is a visual inspection, or, whatever it is. Protect yourself there. But the point being is that when I review photos with a customer, there's a group of about 20, it used to be 22, it's about 26 now, photos that I will sit down and I'll just do it takes me about 15 minutes to go over an inspection review with a customer, because I'm literally saying, I know this just looks like a picture of the front of your fireplace, but and it's a beautiful fireplace, but let's talk about what I was looking at when I saw this. I was looking at how far your mantle was from the top of the fireplace. I was looking at how far your hearth extension was out. I was looking at your trim. I was looking, I was looking at all the little mortar in the firebox, and great news, this looks beautiful. Everything meets, from what I can tell, today's codes and standards. Looks great. All that's good. Boom. Let's move to the damper. Appears to be functioning for them. Boom. Smoke chamber. As we talked about, you were there in the scan. Got a little bit of deficiencies there. We want to make sure we get that smoothed out. We've already went through the big three. Boom. And so I'm kind of going through literally. Hopefully you guys are charging a lot for your sleeping inspections. You should be charging. Every market's different. A couple $100, right? $300. Give the customer that value. If all you do is give them a report and say, here's what I found wrong and here's my proposal to fix it, then you become a sales guy at that point, and just not full value. So to answer your question specifically, James, I don't go into a lot of detail per se, but I certainly have a wide, high-level review of every photo that I take, unless there's a deficiency, and then I do the big three.
He says, yes, I need to work on that. I watched on SureFire before. I guess I need to watch it again. So Kyle has something, and I have a different spin on. He says, start with a negative and end with a positive. So I want to just discuss that and then get your take on it. But I don't necessarily, if it's a safety issue, I don't want to end on a positive. I do want to end, if it's safety related, on a concern that I'm concerned, that I want them to be concerned. I'd rather start positive with, hey, here's the good things I found. And then, hey, you called us for safety. You didn't call us to feel good about your fireplace. You wanted to make sure it was as good as possible. And here's the things that I would be concerned about if I was going to light a fire in this fireplace. So for me, I don't, they call it the crap sandwich, where you positive and hit a negative in the middle and end on a positive. I don't like that either, because if the negative in the middle is the most important thing, whether I'm talking to an employee or I'm talking to a customer, if the negative is actually the most important thing, I'm going to end on the most important thing. If it's fantastic and it's a little bit of a problem, I do want to end on a positive. We had a great experience. Good job. Great looking fireplace. So many things are right. Great. But if it's a safety issue, I'm not going to go, yeah, the safety issue, but gas, good news. The top isn't cracked, but the flue, you know what I mean? So yeah. How do you feel? How do you end it? Like if it's it's going to be contentious. Like, what do you do?
But hopefully, and this is where the no surprises at the proposal comes in and is so powerful that you've heard me say before on different classes that the more time that you spend on the front end getting to know the customer, building rapport, is the more time that you save arguing on the back end, right? I want to spend time when it's fun, it's interactive, I'm getting to know them, we're people rapport building, and I don't want to spend time defending my proposal and my prices and why I'm the best solution for them. So if I have done this right, I've included them in the scan, I've talked about them every time I have an issue, I've got off the roof, I've went through everything with them. They already know all the problems, right? So they already know everything that's going on. So by the time that I get to the table, it's like, look, they already understand what's wrong, what happened to it, what happens if we don't address it, and let's talk about solutions, right? It's a totally different conversation. But I'm with you, man. I know I didn't invent. I don't know who invented this, but I use it all the time. I probably daily I use this. I'll tell somebody, look, we're not the chimney police, right? I mean, I'm not here to condemn and red tag your fireplace. You hired me to come in and educate you on your system. You told me this is what you wanted, and these are the things that are keeping you from getting there. So, it's one of those things that I think if you present it right, none of it has to be negative. It's just here's where we're at, and it sucks, right? But now we know, and you can present that as a positive to say, look, I know the information I'm giving you is not good, but at least right? At least you can now make that decision to not burn knowing what you know. So I take that as a positive, I guess.
I think also one thing that a lot of us forget to do is, let's say we did the presentation and we got the people on board and then they say, great, let's do it. I think we sometimes lose a connection because at first, you're talking to somebody and you're on one side, they're on the other, and you're trying to educate them and try to come to the same side. But then once we both are on the same side, hey, we're your guys, we're going to fix your chimney, we're going to make this safe for you to use, we're going to, we're on your side. We're like, oh, great. Okay. See you later. Bye. We don't, that's where the relationship could actually start and be better is once you're on the same team, now go through the process of what we're going to do for you, how the whole thing's going to work. Great. We're going to give you a call. We're going to do this. How important is it after they say, do it? What are the next steps as you close out?
For sure. What you're talking about is, probably 3% of the industry does, right? It is so next level rock star relationship building and customer for life mentality. And again, there's the part of my main sales presentation is how do we make customers for life? And it's look at, anybody can hire somebody to come do a job and do it and then never to be seen again. But we're a small business. You've read our reviews. We're in it for the long haul. I am your chimney guy. I'll tell people that all the time. I am the guy that you call if you have questions, if you need anything. And if I'm doing a ride along and I'm gone, those guys know that I will call that customer back every single time, even if I'm 2 states away. Because I want them to know that they hired me, and I don't take that lightly. And so what I will tell a customer is after we've made a decision, fantastic. I help reinforce that it was the right decision. It's I can't remember if you did a podcast on this, Mark, or someone, but there's the whole mentality of when you go to a nice restaurant, no matter what you choose, the waiter says, "Oh, excellent choice." It's the affirmation, because this is, especially when you're talking 7, 10, 15 grand, right? It's like, am I making the right decision here? Especially when I'm making it on the spot, even though you have full trust in that guy, the company, everything in your body says it's good. Once you pull the trigger, you just want that little bit of, affirmation that was the right decision. And so always give that to them, right? Say, I think that's the right choice. I'm glad that you've chosen us to do this. Our guys are the best, right? I know our review said it, but we're going to do a good job for you. We're going to take photos throughout the way. If you have any questions throughout the process, our guys are going to go over that with you. all your before and after photos are going to be in our system on file for you. I am your chimney guy. Here is my direct number. You call me with any questions. If the guys get out here and something's going that you're not expecting, you call me. The office is going to set this up. They're going to call you and give you a date. If you're in a system where you can call the office right then, get them on the calendar, get the deposit, whatever you need to do. But affirm is the right thing. Affirm that you're there. And then, depending on what they're buying, make sure they know the importance of ongoing maintenance and education, whether it's for warranty compliance or whether it's for just good practice, to let them know that, hey, I'll be out here every year for you, right? So my guys are going to do a good job, because if not, I'm going to find it, right? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so important too when you close out to be on the same side and be with them, that because you know they can have buyer's remorse, they can feel negative, they can. I mean, how many times has somebody called, you left, and they said let's do it, and they call a couple of days later and say no, I talked to my roofer and he said don't do it. Like there needs to be a process so you kind of lock it in and they feel good about the whole process. I got another. I know we're about to wrap up, and thank you for staying on extra time. Let me read this from Stacy. Every customer is different. The process going through is as important because you get to know the customer. Once you get to the end, you have a feel for their personalities enough to word the process in a personable manner that they can understand and relate to. Make them feel like you are there because you care, not because you want their money. Yes. That's it.
And I can tell you, I've been in the field with Stacy multiple times, and I don't know, hundreds of technicians I've been with, thousands, and probably 3,000-4,000 ride-alongs that I've done. And I don't know if I've ever seen anyone that has the type of personal relationship that Stacy has with her clients. I mean, to the point where we were pulling up, and I mean, they were running to each other, hugging in the driveway. I'm like, what is happening here? And she was just going back to touch up a high heat paint or refractory panel because she promised she would, right? And I was like, what? I was like, but that told me that she was not a salesperson, right? She cared about her customer. She was a problem solver. She took care of them, and she was there for them, and she meant it. So I appreciate you saying that, Stacy. And that's not just words coming from you. I know you absolutely do that.
She does. She's total relationship builder all the way through. That's the most important thing. And then people can feel that, right? They can feel when you're genuine. They can feel like when you really do care about them. And the money flows. We're not doing this for a hobby. We're doing this to make money. But man, when you really show you care, I'm Angela. What her name was? Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
That is so true about all of us. When I ever have a salesman come in and I feel like the person really cares, and I just had a big proposal on a thing on my deck that I'm going to have put a big structure. I didn't even get a second bid because this guy was great. He showed me everything I needed to see. Were there cheaper options? Absolutely. Did I feel the best about this guy? Yeah. So I'm going to spend the extra money. I didn't even need to know. I had a rough price. His was $5,000, $7,000 more, but it was better. And you could see why it was better. He's in a friend of mine sold Xerox machines. And she's like, every single time we went into somebody's office, we were always the highest price. There was and you used to be in that business too. She had to sell on value. She had to sell on the extra after the sell. She had to sell on where they were and then what they're going to be in the future. A lot of guys don't do that. A lot of technicians just say, here it is. See, I got 3 more appointments a day. Goodbye.
For sure. We're literally going through a very large transaction right now. As you know, we moved to Florida, and we kind of bought a fixer upper, and we're at the kitchen bathroom stage. And as you know, kitchens, bathrooms are especially in South Florida, are not inexpensive to do. So we met with multiple contractors, and the second guy that came in, I mean, just value, love. And we already had another guy literally this morning scheduled. The guy came in, and literally I felt like he was almost wasting his time because I was already sold on. The guy didn't do enough to change my mind to go away from the second guy. He hadn't even sent his proposal yet, and I've already told the second guy to go ahead. He could come in 10 grand cheaper, and I've been like, well, you blew it.
Yeah.
So
I love being around a good. I love being around a good salesperson that makes it feel totally natural and totally good, and not just technical. Here's what it is. And if you want it, great. If not, see you later.
And I know we need to wrap up, but one thing I want to leave people with, because I literally just had a meeting this morning with a company, and they wanted me to re-talk with one of their technicians because they were not, and we've done a podcast on this in detail, but they were struggling with some of the prices that their company was charging for their services because they wouldn't personally buy it. Right. They're like, man, I do my own work, man. I'm a blue collar, God, you're crazy to charge this kind of stuff. And I assure you, if you feel that way, and you present that way, your customer is going to feel that, and you're not going to be successful. And so the confidence that you have to have is, again, if you're looking at it as the product, as the service, as the thing that you are doing, and that thing or that product or that service costs this much money, you will always get price objections. You will always feel expensive. You will always be commoditized. You will always get, let me get another bid. But if you can create that relationship with the customer to let them know that you're the expert, that why they hired you is to understand their system, and that you do understand their system, and you found the things that are wrong with it, and that you are the guy and you represent the company that will resolve that for them. And if they don't resolve it, that's okay. Just know these other things are coming. But you're not going to be the cheapest guy, right? You don't want the cheapest guy for this type of work, but absolutely. And get last shameless plug. Facebook, I have a page called Rush Profits page. Go like it. About probably 2-3 months ago, I did a whole long post about what to do when a customer says, okay, well, that sounds good. It's a little bit more than we expected. We're going to get another bid or two, right? What do you do in those situations? What's your value prop? What do you say? How do you exemplify value? How do you give value propositions? How do you not feel defensive? How do you do all those things? And so I know we're trying to wrap up here, so I won't go into the details there, but go read that. And
I don't mind if you do, but if you need to go or you want to just wrap up.
I'm good. I just want to, I don't know how, I'm not watching the feed, so I don't know how many people are still active, and
almost every, we've still got a good amount of people.
Okay, great. Well, keep the questions coming. But I think you've got to be really good at, and this is what I call why people do business with me, right? Look, it's more than I expected. And I totally get it. What were we expecting? Let's get in the ballpark. Look, I can assure you one thing, that I'm not going to be the cheapest guy that you're going to call, but I'm also going to be absolutely in line with pretty much any other similar reputation company as to what we are. Here's why I find that people choose me, right? Here's my phone number. You can call me day or night, whatever your personal boundaries are, right? If I don't answer, I'm with the customer, I'm on the roof, or I'm with my kids, whatever the case may be. Not only are we going to do the work, do it right. You can see we've got over 500 reviews that are 5-star quality work. Not only are we going to do it right, we stand behind it. We've been a warranty. I always love I've put this challenge out on your podcast. I put it out a couple of times. One day I'm going to have the perfect customer that I've got such a good rapport with that I can do the Tommy Boy warranty thing with. I just haven't felt confident enough to do it yet. But the whole idea of, warranty is really only as good as the butcher's word, right? Let's just take his word for it, that I'm your guy. I'm going to take care of this for you. But the really important part of that is, look, if something's way off, like if we're talking, I'm 15,000 and someone else is 7,000, something's wrong, right? I may be the most expensive, but I'm not going to be double, right? Either they're not given the same solution, they're not finding all the things that I have, they're not given the same level of service. There's something going on. So if you are going to get another recommendation, which I certainly do not dissuade you from doing that, just do me the favor that if it's way off, give me a call and let me at least walk you through it. So yeah, if it's truly half the price and it's the same type of thing and it's a quality company, I'll be the first to give you my blessing.
A friend of mine in the roofing business would say this to people. He's like, when he would talk to him and said, look, okay, so there's a difference in price. Let me ask you this. If we were the same price, if we were the same price as them, who would you choose? And most of the time the people will say, well, I would choose you because you're in front of them and they called you for a reason. Now, sometimes if they say, well, at the same price, I'm still going to go with my brother-in-law or I'm still going to go with this other company. I was hoping you would be cheaper. Then you're not going to win it. But let's just say they say, if the price were the same, I would go with you. And he would say, okay, great. Why would you go with us? And then they'll start to sell it. They'll start to say, well, you've got great reviews. Well, my friend used you and you did great work. Is there any other reason? And you just kind of let them build the case for you. Yep. And he would say, well, all those reasons that you just listed are why we are probably a little bit higher. They don't have as good of a reputation. They haven't been doing as long as we have. We have more options. We can get to you whatever your selling point is. He would just use their term. If people will do this for you, and I've asked people, hey, if it's the same, who would you go with? And so revealing that they'll say, well, I would go with you. I just need you to be closer. Well, let's just go through that. And let them kind of sell on. I thought that was a brilliant way to sell.
That's spin selling at its best.
Yeah.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah. So, man, Alan, you're so great. Thank you for joining us. I think you left a ton of knowledge out here for everybody listening. As you can see, Alan has a ton of information. He is on the SureFire platform. He's one of the partners. He has sales classes all the time. And also these can be given to your crews and your people and yourself. And it's just so valuable. And this, if you really take into what Alan said, this Facebook Live could make you an extra $100,000 easy. And so, it's a very great value for the time. So thank you so much, Alan, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to wrap it up. So everybody, thank you so much. Great questions tonight. We're going to do this every week. We do this every week. And next week, I'm excited to have more people on, and we're lining up guests, and we are going to try to help the chimney industry best we can with all kinds of information that helps us all do better. We love this industry. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending your time with us. And we will see you next week.